Hello and welcome to the Quick News Daily Podcast, where I give you the facts first, no clickbait stories, just real news that matters to real people. Well, welcome to the Quick News Daily Podcast. I knew we'd be talking about the debate a lot today, and Donald Trump did not disappoint, I figure it would be best to get some feedback, some reaction from someone who is actually in the room. So, without further ado, please help me welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald John Trump. Mr. Trump, how are you doing today?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, to be honest. I think you obviously saw the debate, and I think you would say a lot of people around me are saying it was one of the strongest, if not the strongest debate performance they'd ever seen. So we consider it a very big win. I know the fake news is reporting it as other things, but we consider it a very strong win. And knowing how badly I beat Sleepy Joe, I'm guessing he's going to try and cancel the other two debates, which is fine by me. But, I won't get tired of beating up Sleepy Joe.
That's interesting because, like you said, the media is saying that you pretty much lost the debate. It's a consensus. You don't agree with that, though?
No, well, in the White House, over 80% of my family said that I won strongly. So that's, you never see those kind of rates. Over 80%, that's a tremendous amount of Trumps who think that I won the debate. So it doesn't surprise me that the fake news thinks I lost.
100% of Trumps, though?
I'm forced to count Tiffany in the poll. They make me count. I don't even want to count. I don't even remember half the time, but they forced me to. So it's sort of, even there's almost fake polling news within my own family. But the fake news, they're upset because they want me to stand there and be very, "Oh, hello, sir. This is my time to speak now, sir." No, when you're dealing with Xi, when you're dealing with killers and dictators, are they going to be polite? No. And Sleepy Joe wouldn't know that. So, I'm almost training him if he, by some miracle, would have win, which we know he's not going to. But if he would have win, it's almost like I'm helping him by helping him be a little tougher. So he should actually thank me for what I did in the debate.
That is very generous of you. What do you think about Chris Wallace, though? Do you think he was fair? Do you think he treated you with respect?
I don't think he was fair. I don't think he was disrespectful, but I don't think he was fair. He kept yelling at me not to interrupt, which I thought was rude. It's like, excuse me, I'm busy interrupting, and now you're interrupting me. And you ever heard the phrase, two wrongs don't make a right?
Absolutely.
Well, we invented that. The Trump family actually invented that phrase. But he was being more wrong. He was being double wrong. So I don't think he was rude, but I think he should have shown a little more respect, and he could have done a better job. But he's sort of, I call him the Don Jr. of journalism because he's a terrible version of his father.
Very good points. Were you playing the long game with Jeb by interrupting so much? You were trying to show you were high energy and that Jeb was, lower energy. Was this a sort of getting back at Jeb again?
No, I'm glad you noticed that. That's sort of, Jeb was like, how when you go to a gym and the boxers, they have the heavy bags that they beat up, as the sort of first level of boxing training. Jeb was like a heavy bag for me. He's just sort of big and he stands there and he doesn't do anything. So I got to beat him up early, and that was sort of the training. And now that's my debate technique. We learned it on Jeb. It was very successful, as you know. And then we used it on Hillary, but I took it, I think, to the next level with Sleepy Joe.
Definitely high energy. But it's no secret that people in the suburbs, you call them suburban housewives, they've been leaving the Republican Party lately. What's the strategy behind trying to win them back by being like their any abusive husband? What's the thought of that?
Oh, we're going to terrify them. Okay? We're going to scare. We're basically going, our ads in October, because we have Halloween. Not a lot of people know that, but October has Halloween.
No, I didn't.
And what we're going to do is we're going to put out a series of horror ads. okay, where it's Sleepy Joe Biden and Barack Hussein Obama going through your nice suburbs with a bunch of Antifa people and a bunch of Black Lives Matter people, and they're going to be burning your house and destroying your great suburbs. And it'll fit very nicely with sort of the Halloween theme. So, you know, I'm letting you know this because I think you're not part of the fake news, but I think it's going to be a very strong ad campaign, and people will realize we have to reelect Trump. We don't want this sort of Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Biden horror show. It's a horror show.
Speaking of horror shows, can you describe your relationship with the Proud Boys? What are your thoughts about the group already adopting "Stand Back and Stand By" as their slogan?
You know, well, I can't help the fact that I am, as many people, you know, even people who don't like me, okay? Even people who don't like me sort of know that I'm the king of branding. So sometimes I can just say something. That was just a comment. That wasn't, you know, that wasn't an official meeting. I was just making a comment. I said, stand back and stand by. And it's almost like I'm so great at branding, I accidentally gave them their greatest slogan ever. You know, that's how you know you're great, okay? When you can sort of do great branding and you don't even mean it. You know what I mean? But the Proud Boys, I'm not familiar with them. But, you know, I think Pride. The left is always talking about Pride. You know, every summer they put the rainbows and they do all sorts of things and they say great Pride. And the left loves the Pride in the summer. But when you have another group that likes Trump that says Pride or Proud, all of a sudden the left, they don't like Pride anymore. And I think that's very nasty and very inconsistent. But I don't know the Proud Boys. No, but if they support me, you know, we accept the support.
Sure. Yeah, I think those two groups are definitely the same thing. You tried to bring up Hunter Biden again a lot, but be honest, if you could trade Eric for Hunter, would you?
If I'm being totally honest, I want to be fair and honest with you. I would rather party with Hunter Biden, that's for sure. I would much rather, I think we're closer in our partying styles, but I think he's a total corrupt, failed business guy, and he's got a lot of problems, okay? But I would say, you know, I would like to party with Hunter Biden if he wasn't such a sleazy Democrat. But Eric, you know, is overall, I think I would keep Eric. I think. I don't want to say guarantee. I don't want to be held to it, you know, because all of a sudden, if one day I trade Eric for like, you know, $20,000, people will say, "Oh, he lied. He traded his son." So I don't want to guarantee it, but I think I would keep Eric over Hunter Biden. But Hunter, where is Hunter, by the way? Probably a lot of fun to party with, though.
Sort of a real respect, real moment there with Hunter Biden getting on the board with some questionable qualifications.
I would say that. I think, you know, you have to sort of respect it. I don't like it, but you have to respect it.
For sure. You said again that mail-in voting is bad, but in the past you've said absentee voting is fine. Can you sort of break it down in layman's terms what the difference is?
When you're doing strong patriotic absentee voting, you have to go through an entire process. You have to say, I won't be here. You have to sign things. You have to go through incredible loopholes. Okay, it's not easy doing absentee. It's kind of, if I could vote in person, I would vote in person before I do absentee. Absentee is, I think, one of the most difficult things you have to do as a citizen. Okay, I hate it. But mail-in voting, you mail it. That's all. You just mail it. It's the easiest thing, and somebody can go through your mail. Somebody can take the ballot before you even get it. You can do so many things with the mail. You can send, you know, you could send some of those coupons that nobody uses in the envelope, and then all of a sudden, Papa John's Pizza 2-for-1 coupon is getting votes in a battleground state to help Sleepy Joe, because those would have been strong Trump votes. So we're very anti-coupons voting, okay, and that's what the Democrats want. So no, it's absentee is so much safer and stronger, and We're totally okay with that, but not mail-in.
And how do you send your absentee ballot back? Is that through the mail? Or?
Well, certain, we have government employees, okay, who pick up the vote and they take it into a special truck. Okay. So it's not any van. It's not like one of these Amazon vans that just, you don't know who's running it. They have clearly marked trucks. So, it's secure. And the colors are red, white, and blue on the truck. So, it's strong sort of American security. And then they bring it to these places where they're very experienced dealing with envelopes. Okay, they get thousands, maybe tens of thousands of envelopes every single day. These places, they know what they're doing. And then they send it to where it needs to go. So I send the absentee ballot through a very secure it's a federal secure delivery system that we use. So unlike mail-in voting, which uses the mail, which is totally unreliable, we use a strong federal American delivery system.
Would some people call it the Postal Service? Would you call it the Postal Service?
We're looking into what the name is, okay, and we might rebrand it. But, I think there's a lot of confusion in terms of some of the names. So I don't want to, say right now, and then all of a sudden the fake news wants to make a big deal of it.
Sure. So are there any, this is off topic, but are there any comedians you really have your eye on? Maybe some that are known by a 2-letter first name? Is there someone who does the best impression of you?
Well, there's nobody really. I mean, we know it's not Alec Baldwin. I can tell you that. He is not too good at it, but there is a failed comedian, okay, who basically had no career. His career was over, okay? It never even got started. He was sort of like, he wasn't even a has-been. He was like a never was. And everybody was saying, oh, Mr. President, sir. They all call me sir. Mr. President, sir, you should see this guy, J-L, whatever his last name is. I don't know, and I don't want to know. And I watched it, and I said, this guy is sort of one of the worst things. He doesn't sound, the guy sounded nothing like me. He sounded nothing. I asked if I needed a strong hearing test, and then Dr. Ronnie Jackson said, sir, you have the greatest hearing of any human being that's ever lived. So I said, okay, so it's not my hearing because I have very powerful hearing. And then I said, this guy was doing a great impression, and it was sort of a total disaster. It was like a disgrace. And I almost felt bad for him because somebody was lying to him. So, it's definitely not the J-L character that people have been talking about. I think he's one of the worst.
Well, I would put my money on J-L Cauvin, the amazing comedian and Trump impressionist who is the first ever guest on Quick News Daily. J-L, thank you so much for joining us. And
oh, hey,
that was incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I just got here.
Walk out of the room. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye, Mr. President.
Each other. Yeah.
Sir.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And man, what a debate last night, huh?
Unbelievable. It was, even by Trump standards, and I know people are always like, well, a lot of people are going with that sort of, well, they both did badly. And I go, that's whether or not Joe Biden was going to be amazing or great. We all know he was at best going to be sort of average, sort of like a little heartfelt, maybe a little slow at a couple of moments. But Trump never allowed anything to happen. He didn't allow Biden to either speak well or to mess up. He just kind of was like running around like a puppy that just like got off the leash and was peeing and knocking into things, and just for like an hour until it gets tired. That's what it looked like, basically.
It's sort of incredible how he always thinks the answer to his problems is more Trump. Like, how do you work with that?
That's a good point. I think, he made, and maybe that's the goal. Maybe that's I called that debate a political suicide bomb. I think Trump looks at it as, well, Biden's ahead in the polls, and I don't really have much to say other than some insults. So what if I ruin all of this? Maybe a few people will say, Biden didn't take charge. Biden should have been more forceful. So maybe you get a couple of people who, it's the same thing I thought with Mitch McConnell in the Senate when Obama was in office. I thought Mitch McConnell had this idea of like, well, if we don't pass any laws, some people will blame Obama. Like, even if it's all our fault being obstructionists, people will blame Obama if nothing's getting done because he's the guy at the head of the government. And with Trump, I think he looks at it and says, Biden's the front runner. My base is staying with me. So if I ruin this debate, some people will go, and I've heard it from friends who are like, God, I thought Biden was terrible. And I go, how do you judge anybody from that and say they're terrible? Like, that was a mess. And it was, it was 90% controlled and caused by Trump's aggression and rudeness.
Right. Like, I think people would notice Joe Biden's restraint. I would think that was probably the toughest or the strongest part of his performance, because just getting interrupted constantly, I imagine that's got to wear on you.
Yeah. And he's, I think if you had somebody, obviously Biden was one of the older people in the race, other than Bernie, I guess. But, had it been somebody like Pete Buttigieg, who was a very sharp, very young, energetic guy, I think he would have had no problem whatsoever because he's so nimble and so smart and young, and like he could have, but then you'd have some people going, I thought he came off as arrogant, like he was too sharp and too, so there's really no way to win these things. It feels like, unless you just have a couple of killer lines. That seems to be the only purpose of these debates, because I know who I'm voting for and I know most of the issues on a decent level. But if I was looking to learn anything from that debate or make a decision, it had zero value. And I think that plays to Trump's thing is sort of, if I can make a few people less confident in Joe Biden, hey, those are a few people who won't vote for Joe Biden. Mission accomplished. I don't know. Or maybe Trump thinks he was just awesome. Maybe Trump really, like I portrayed him. Maybe he's just like, God, I killed that debate.
I'm sure that's what people are telling him. I hope people realize it's coming from his end, like all the chaos. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a wreck because of Trump, not because of they're both making it a wreck.
Right. And you can't have it both ways. You can't have Joe Biden being sleepy, old, no energy Joe, and then he's also Hurricane Joe who comes in and causes messes. Like, if he's like the feeble old man, even more so, you can blame it on Trump, because Joe Biden's not capable of that kind of, maybe when Joe Biden was in his 50s, he would have been much louder and like in your face, but he's beyond that now. And I did find it funny and jarring when he said, was it, "Oh, shut up, man."
Yeah.
And this clown, they were jarring because you just don't hear that. But at the same time, I think they were totally justified, because it was just like, what do you say?
We were all saying it.
Yeah, people have said to me like, oh, you've got to, hey, man, respect the office. I don't like them, but you respect the office. And I always think, but what if the guy in the office doesn't respect the office? Like,
right.
Hey, if you want to say that with if it was a President Mitt Romney or George W. Bush, you can disagree with policies and decisions, but I never thought that George W. Bush was like using the office for like publicity and profit. Like, I think he took the weight of the office very seriously. I always say every president in my lifetime, except for the two actors with hair dye, Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Now, Reagan, I think, actually cared, but it helps when you come in and you use hair dye and you're already old. Trump looks the same as when he started, basically, because I don't think the job actually stresses him. Like, I think he's just, he came in a little overweight with his fake hair and fake tan, and he looks the same because there's no graying. There's no like extra stress, because I think to him, the stress is, will I go to jail if I don't make it to a second term? That's he might get stressed after he's out of office, but right now he's just like, oh, this is so fun. I just yell at people and I'm building my brand.
For sure. And it seems like he needs to. I think we're probably the ones who have aged more than him during the 4 years.
Yes. Oh, no. I mean, this year alone, it doesn't help. I mean, there have been a lot of factors, but my gray hairs have gone, and I'm 41. So that, I'm hitting that age where things can start to fall apart. But I went from, you know, like 12 gray hairs to like, I feel like 40 in the last 6 months.
That's got to be some of the fame you're catching, though. Is it almost getting too easy at this point with all the crazy stuff that he's putting out there?
It is. I try not to go for the low hanging. Like I may piggyback off of what's happening, but I try not to do the sort of SNL regurgitate what just happened. I think it's a combination of a lot of crazy things, but I am also, if you were to look at my YouTube channel, I've been doing the impression since 2014, but it really got good around 2018. And I didn't realize this. Sorry if this is boring, but I was much faster. Like I spoke much faster as Trump early on. And I thought, oh, that was terrible. But if you look at Trump in 2015, when he was, you know, just announcing and doing interviews, he was much faster. He was much more boom, 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 boom in interviews. And I was like, oh, so maybe it was more accurate than I remember. And now we're slowing it down. Because I give very slow talks to my people. Okay. My people love me and I talk at a speed that they can understand. But, I try to be creative with what I'm doing and now like incorporating other impressions. Like I just put up this video today, the Trump Kings of Comedy, which is me as Trump, Pence, Bill Barr, Mitch McConnell, and Don Jr. doing like a conservative Netflix stand-up special promo. Just to start doing other things. I have a lot of other impressions that aren't political, but you know, with a pandemic and an election and this very unique president in American history, it is really all consuming. So it's like, I try to put out other content or other jokes and it's like, oh, that was okay. Or, hey, 25 likes. And then I just put Trump stinks. And it's like viral, 4,000 likes, viral. And I'm going, oh God, this is the combination of where we all are as a people and how controlling these sort of social media algorithms are for what we consume. But I just hope, even if I'm just doing B rooms or something, I just hope to really get to jumpstart my stand-up career again and maybe, you know, get a lot more headlining gigs. Because I know like I said, I've put out 6 stand-up albums. I've been doing it for 17 years. I've been ready to headline. And now it's just, I hope my notoriety carries into 2021 where I can just, all I need is that one tour, that one shot to like get out in front of fans, make new fans. And then I think I'm ready for it to, you know, I've been warming up and it feels like I've been warming up in the bullpen for about 7 years waiting to take the mound. So
you're ready to hit the ground running for sure though.
Oh yeah. You know, I already have my material laid out for a 7th album or God willing a first sort of special to market somewhere. So, you know, it's, I'm in a very good position. As I said before we started recording though, it's frustrating and it's a new kind of stress for me. The stress used to be, is my career over? Am I done? Now it's like, will my career be what I want it to be? But it's hard to complain when I've, you know, I have my health and I've had financial success during this time, which is, you know, the opposite of what a lot of people have had. So I try to remember that and just not get too worked up and too stressed about things, but I'm not that great at doing that.
It's hard for sure, but
you adjust to a new normal. That's the problem. If you had told me a year ago, you're going to do this, this, and that, and make this, this, and that, I'd be like, oh man, 2020 is going to be the best. And then you get here and it's like the genie played a trick on you. It's like, oh no, you won't be able to leave your home and you'll start to get like cabin fever and a little depressed. And all of a sudden you won't sleep as well because you're thinking about all these other things and you're wondering if you
become Trump.
Right. And then one day you're walking around your building, you know, groping strangers. And it's like, oh no, I've taken the character too far.
There's the line. Well,
that is a video. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say that is one video I'd like to maybe do for Halloween is a stand-up comedian who, except I can't really collaborate with a lot of people because I used to do much more collaborative stuff. These individual videos are simply because it's me in my apartment with my girlfriend and my dog. Like, so that's it. But I did want to do a Halloween sketch about a comedian who slowly morphs into Trump. Like the character takes over him and he becomes this like horrific, nightmarish person, but it's really, he just becomes Trump.
That'd be a good idea for a special for sure. A short at least. It's going to
So
be a big 5 to
Quibi.
6 weeks for you. Oh yeah, for sure.
No, I'm not. No, not really. But I just like to throw in a Quibi joke whenever I can.
Obviously, have to. It's going to be a big 5 to 6 weeks for you. Is there a lot we can look forward to content-wise from you? What is it going to look like now and then afterwards?
Sure. I think, I'm going to keep doing a couple of videos. Like I said, I put out that Trump Kings of Comedy one, which I'm really happy with, just as something different, thematically related, but a totally different angle. So it'll be, I have a weekly I have 2 weekly podcasts, but the more popular one is the one I do as Trump. It's called Making Podcasts Great Again. So that's really picked up a lot of steam this year. And that should be fun because we're doing like not only our regular episodes, but sort of debate specials and things like that. And I'm sure we'll try to figure out something for election night. And afterwards, and I have 2 YouTube channels. I never thought I was going to become some sort of tween vlogger / webcam girl. But that's what I've become in 2020. 41 years old doing cameos in my home office. But I kind of want to do some lame, assuming he loses. There's a couple of caveats in terms of what I'm going to do after the election. If he wins, then I'm going to retire the impression in January. And people say, oh, but you got to ride it out. And I go, no, I have to do what makes me feel comfortable. I don't want to do Trump forever anyway. And the humor will be sort of gone. For me, I qualify this as dark humor. I find it disturbing what he does and says, but we have a light at the end of the tunnel, which is electing Joe Biden and hopefully getting a Democratic Senate. I'm sure you have people of both parties who listen to this, but I think it's pretty clear where I stand. So I'm not going to hedge and be like, well, everybody can have their opinion. No. I mean, you can, but I just will disagree. So if he wins, I got to retire it in January. I'll ride it out, do some more cameos, wrap up sort of and then just focus on my stand-up, and maybe a few people go, oh, he has integrity, we should support him. If he loses and we don't descend into a mini civil war, and it sounds like a joke, but I don't mean that we're going to have a 4-year war. But if we reach a certain level of violence in this country, it's not that also, even if he's lost, I need to at least shelve it, if not retire it as well. But assuming he loses badly, and is forced to become like a Fox and Friends call-in nut job, we're going to do a couple of sort of lame duck session things where he's planning, maybe a series on my channel. Trump the Internet is the other channel on YouTube, like a little series where he's just trying to figure out his next move or his next profession going into 2021. And other things related to sort of lame duck, maybe lame duck Donald would be, some sort of title for that. But beyond that, best case scenario for me is he loses. I make a little more money off of this towards the end of the year. And then it becomes just, fans show up. He'll still be in the media, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I just maybe do 5 minutes of it during a stand-up set for like, hey, this is for all my fans who discovered me in the last year, since I owe you. But I really like the fans who were with me before I became a Twitter sensation. So, I can always regurgitate the impression, but it will be very nice for it to be not the centerpiece of what I do. So.
Absolutely. I was watching another thing you were on, and you had this great line about like, if he wins again, it doesn't become like an accident or a mistake. It becomes like this is actually who we are. So I just thought that was
right. It says, and people kind of take comfort when they say, well, he didn't win a majority. And I go, but under our system, he won. And that means that we have enough vulnerabilities in our population, enough sad, scared, or angry, or evil people who will support him. And we have a system that will allow him to take office. Like, these are structural problems. And I'm not trying to sound sort of radical, but if Donald Trump can win back-to-back elections with a minority of the vote, what are we doing? Like we just allowed, it says if he wins re-election, it says we did this on purpose. This whole, hey, 2016 was weird, right? Wasn't that crazy what happened? If it happens again, even if it's not a majority of the people, the structure and system that we've chosen to have in this country is to sustain legally brought him about again. And now you can't call that a mistake. And that's way more disturbing.
Yeah.
You know, I am hoping that what 2016 teaches us is that we are a little bit shallow and a little bit misogynistic. And that's why we elected a man who was a horrible businessman and a horrible person, because we didn't like the sound of a woman's voice or her ambition. And this isn't for anybody. Like, to me, I hope history remembers Hillary Clinton as a smart, dedicated public servant. And I know there's plenty of people who say they don't like her, but they often can't articulate reasons why beyond a feeling or some sort of right wing sort of talking point that's almost certainly debunked. I'm sorry?
Whatever Fox News is kind of pushing about her.
Right. And to me, it's like if you had a store and one candidate had 20 years of management experience in retail, was always prompt, had good credentials, but some of her former employees said she wasn't the easiest to work with, and some customers said they didn't always enjoy interacting with her. Okay, so that's your first candidate. The other candidate is somebody who's been accused of arson of stores 3 times. And you choose the arsonist to manage your store because you want something different. That's insane. And then if you give that person another contract, you deserve to have your store burned down. Because that's basically what you've said. You said, oh no, this wasn't accidental. I wanted him in charge, and I'm willing to let him continue to do nefarious things. I don't understand at this, because, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling, but I'm not rambling, but I'm going on a long time. It's just everything that party has said, that the Republican Party has sort of been the party of. He's not even the party of that. Deficits, ran up huge deficits as like a vanity thing. He wanted to give taxes and tax breaks to real estate people, and he wanted the Republicans to like him. So he did a big tax break, huge deficit. Troops, he has said offensive things about veterans, Gold Star families, and now these reports of saying suckers and losers. But that's the party that loves the military more than the Democrats. They're so branded to this image of the Republican Party, and yet they have no problem with a leader of their party representing none of those things that they always said were so important. Faith, values. They used to say about Bill Clinton, it's not just, it's about, we want people of character. Now, if you meant that, I can understand that as your belief. I can understand if you want the president to be our finest citizen, a good man or woman, a strong role model. If you think that's important and you live that way, I may disagree, but I can understand that certainly, and I may agree. But if you speak that on one person, and then when the guy in your party is the worst human being graded on a historical curve that we've ever elected president, you know, people can say, we had slave owners. And I go, you don't think Trump would have had slaves if he could have? Right. He'd have slaves now if he could. When everybody was doing it in the 1810s, he definitely would have done it. So it's just, that's what bothers me about that party. It's like my best friend was a Republican until 2018. And he left the party. He just left because I think he became an independent. And I don't know, I didn't ask him if he became a Democrat or an independent, but he left because he said, what's the point in being like, I'm a Republican who disagrees with Trump, when he has 90% of the party? Why even be associated with this rebranding of the party? It's a Trump party. It has nothing to do with it. In other words, it's like I don't know if you're a football fan, but it's like the Cleveland Browns of Jim Brown are not today's Cleveland Browns.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, they were good and they were awesome and they were this and that. And they are a laughing stock now. And that's what it feels like. You're just like, this is not the same thing. So I don't know. It's a very, very confusing time that we're living through, and a very sad time. It's weird to be in, but we are in a year that will be marked for a century, as this will be long gone, and it will be like 2020 will be this sort of crazy, terrible year. I just hope by the time I'm like 60, I get a chance at the the Trump biopic, or playing some sort of mini series as Trump.
Take over for Brendan Gleeson.
That's right. The writer director of that show, The Comey Rule, just was the guest on Making Podcasts Great Again. So Trump went at him for an hour. It was very fun. It was a real treat for all of us.
That's an amazing get, and just to.
He reached out to me. I don't think whenever I try
wow.
to get somebody, it's like, no. But, sometimes somebody retweeted a clip, and, so that was awesome.
Lucky for sure. Well, is there any other places we can find you? Where are the main places we can find you on the internet and get more content from you?
Sure. JLCauvin.com or JL Comedy. I took so long to buy JL Comedy because I was like, I got to get my name out there. Then you realize nobody can spell your name. So I was like, is JL Comedy also available? Because that's a much easier one for people to get to. So JLComedy.com takes you to my website. Just to make it sort of an easy one-stop shop, they have links to my Twitter, both YouTube pages, and iTunes links for all 6 of my stand-up albums, both of my Trump albums. It's so weird now, speaking of all this, but it's weird when you've never been at all famous or had any clout. You feel like you have to tell everybody everything you've done, because it's like 98% of you have missed all of my work up until 2020. So if I was famous, I could be like, I got a new album out. And I'm like, well, most of you, everything I've done is new. So I might as well get you to stream or buy. But I've always been a very prolific content producer. So, stream some of my albums if you like them, maybe buy one. But, you got links to everything you need to contact me, to watch me, and to listen to me on my website. So it'll at least direct you everywhere you want to go. So that's the easiest. Rather than say, follow me on 8 things, that site has links to everywhere I am. So
that's how I reached out and contacted you. And of course, all the links will be in the episode description. So if you're listening and want to head on over there right away, that's where they'll be. But in any case, JL, I cannot thank you enough for being here, for being the first guest. It was just incredible to have you.
Oh, no, a pleasure. You're a very nice guy. Very respectful. You reached out to me. You called me sir. No, you didn't call me sir. And, nor I would have said no if you had called me sir. I guess. And the only other specific plug I would say is, sorry to do this to trample on your compliment, Making Podcasts Great Again, which I've already, but that, we're doing very well with that podcast. And I think as far as election time content, you're not going to do much better than that. So if you have to pick only one thing to support of mine, that's probably where you should go first, but everything is good.
Absolutely. And it's every week. So that's great. It's always about the current event. So it's all on the theme of this show.
And we've got we're putting up a debate reaction episode that we did. We have a Patreon, so we give sort of early access to some of that stuff, but then we release others to the regular feed. So there's, I think if he loses, I will do the podcast for another year as like the worst political pundit on earth, like Trump analyzing the Biden presidency. And then I'm quit. Like I've already told my co-host, I'm like, I know we're getting some nice ad money and stuff, but best case scenario, he loses, we do the show for one more year. This is not going to, I'm not going to be doing Trump voice in 2022. I don't want to do it in 2021, to be honest.
Not at all. And it's got to wreck you a little bit to get in that headspace all the time.
It can. I'm pretty good at doing the on-off switch. I wonder if
That's
it's doing damage to my vocal cords though, because once I speak for a while, people are like, "You kind of sound like him." I'm like, "No, you got to hear me when I'm not talking as Trump, like for half the day, and my voice sounds much nicer and not."
Con man. Yeah, for sure. Well, Trump or not, come back anytime. It's fantastic.
Oh hell yeah!
Thank
This
you
was
so
a pleasure. So thank you, and thanks everybody listening. Hope you didn't mind me giving 6-minute answers to every question.
It's fantastic. Definitely a nice change of pace. But yes, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.